Hey everybody, it's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. I'm so happy to be back. I've been at the beach for just 4 days and then came back and went straight into work at the scrap exchange. And you know how it is when you come home from vacation, you feel like you need a vacation to unpack and put things away. Anyway, I missed everybody. I've got some beautiful pictures from the beach. I will try to share some of those over the next few days. I missed you. I'm glad to be back, and I want to share with you the prayer journal that I've been working in. One of the things I love to collect is vintage prayer and biblical and religious ephemera. When I find an old rosary, even if it's broken, old tiny little Bibles and things like that, I'm just, oh my goodness, it just touches my heart, and I'm really drawn to those kinds of things. So I do collect them, and I have quite a few pieces. I love to make these little fabric prayer journals. I first made one, I guess it's been about 3 years now, and made quite a few and then backed off of that for a little while. I do want to make some more. Jason's mom has asked me to make some for her for gifts, which I think is really sweet. So I really need to get that done. But let me show you the outside of this. I usually put some sort of ribbon across the outside, and sometimes what I will do is start it right here and have it longer on the back so that you can wrap it around the large button that I usually put on the front. And you'll notice this button has a cross on it. It's really pretty. This time, however, I had this vintage piece of ribbon and I stained it up a little bit. I sewed it on so that there's just a little bit left to tie on the outside, and I really love how that looks. Let's untie it. On the front, we have just a little fake rose flower, and there is a piece of the fabric from the most recent fun pack. Each one had, I think it was the recent one, maybe the one before that, actually. I lose track, but just a little piece of fabric with the angel on it. The larger piece of fabric is from some vintage fabric that I had, and I just thought the color was pretty. When I make these prayer journals, I normally use, I won't say scraps, but they kind of are scraps because it doesn't take much to make a journal this size. So it's pretty easy to find pieces of fabric that you can use. Then when you get inside, every page is just a pocket and every page is fabric. And that's the way I made the first ones that I made. And I just fell in love with that design. Now, it's not a new concept. At that time, I had not seen anybody else make one just exactly like this one with the pockets all the way through, but there could have been. I just know that this came to me at a time when someone had really hurt my feelings about something, and I cried for days. I'm over it now, but and it's neither here nor there, except that I thought I have to make something soothing to my soul. I have to make something that's going to make me feel better, and it ended up being these really pretty little prayer journals. This is just an image that is cut out of a greeting card that I thought was really beautiful. It is, the card was about Saint Teresa, so I feel like this is supposed to be her. I cut the oval out and glued it onto some very heavy fabric. This is some of the stiffest fabric I've ever seen. I mean, it is almost like cardboard. I don't really know what it would be used for, but you can see how stiff it is, and I thought that would be so cool to make tags with, or to back exactly like this, to back something with, to make it sturdy but still feel like, have that look like fabric. I came across a little religious bracelet that was so pretty. Little wooden ovals with the images on top, and then these plastic beads. They look inexpensive, and I think the bracelet itself was, I don't want to say a token, but I don't think it was a really expensive item. But it was falling apart, and some of the wooden pieces have lost their image. So I have incorporated some of these beads throughout the journal. I feel like even though that silver coating is wearing off, it just gives it this really pretty patina. Here is, it's called the Little Bible, and every chapter is really just, well, it's got every book in it. I should say every book is pretty much a summation of, if you read the whole book in the Bible. Let's find one. Like James, be ye doers of the word and not hearers only. James 1:22. Even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead. James 2:17. So I think it pulls out some highlighting verses of each book. Maybe the verse that would sum up the book. And I think this is really sweet. So I just put that in this little pocket. And you can see there are several layers of lace here. This is pretty amazing. I found an old quilt. I did start cutting it up because it had some damage. Otherwise, I would not have done that. I know a lot of work went into it, but it's got all of these little squares. Sorry, I was talking away from the camera, but I was looking back to see if I could find a piece of it. You can see where there was damage, and I'm sure some people are just fainting that I cut it up. It's also pretty threadbare in some places and really won't take much more washing or cleaning. But I love being able to use these little squares and triangles in my projects. So after putting on this pocket, I added this little corner, and we'll probably tuck something in there. What I want to do is take the prettiest little image to go in there, and I just haven't picked one out yet. There's a little, like a pocket rosary. It says Ave Maria, and that is sewn onto one of these squares. And I put it at the top. It kind of balances out the thickness of the journal. With all the pockets at the bottom, it can get thicker at the bottom, but I feel like that really helps to have some things at the top. And then the next page, we have one of the pretty little wooden charms, part of the bracelet, and another bead. Now this word says healing, and that's something that I really want to focus on. Physical healing, but not just physical healing. Sometimes I think we even need healing from being afraid that we're not well, or being afraid that we won't get to do this or that or have enough time. I don't know if I could even explain the way I feel, but this word was with this card, and the card was a prayer for healing. So it just felt to me like it was going to be the theme of this prayer journal. This little charm says hope, and in this pocket, this is just part of a book page. It's got some different writing, and I believe it is from a hymn because it's got alto, soprano, it's got the chorus, his yoke is easy and his burden is light. So I just like little pieces like that where you can pull out a piece of paper and read one little line and just maybe meditate on that or be comforted by that. And then this is part of a vintage greeting card. And so pretty. I love the rose. It says, Christ is your pilot. When the sea of life is stormy and the billows rage and roar, and there seems no hope of gaining the safety of the shore, just have faith, the master pilot is at the wheel, and then in love, he'll surely guide you to the harbor once again. And I just think it's just pretty. The paper is pretty. That rose is beautiful. I love the gold around that. I just love anything that's encouraging and uplifting and soothing. Goodness knows the world is not an easy place to live in sometimes, but there is a lot of goodness and love, and nature is a wonderful place to just meditate and think about creation and having hope and those kinds of things. There is a little cross charm, and I sewed that on with some really pretty silky thread. It's just a very, very fine, beautiful, it's almost shimmery. It's kind of a green color. I did have a prayer card on this side that matched the green a little bit, but then I switched things around. And this is a couple of pages from an old devotional book from the 1940s. Devotional exercises. This says morning devotions, and of course you could read this, and I think it may be Catholic, and so it has a certain cadence to it or flavor to it. And I'm not saying that to be critical. I love reading all these different things and being inspired by them and feeling the different emotions that come from the way things can be worded. It's amazing how that happens. And then here is another part of that greeting card with the pretty flowers. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth. And that is Psalm 121 and 8. And here's a little velvet leaf with a safety pin. There's part of a broken, it was like a rosary bracelet. Here are more of the beads from this bracelet with the wood. They're two different bracelets. And then this is just a really beautiful image. I love images of the Madonna and the Christ child. And then on the back, it's just part of a piece of paper that I had worked on with my inks and, working in my junk journals. That piece of fabric is just glued there. It's got all the buttons on it, and that came from a vintage purse that I found that was covered in buttons, and I've used, I think, pretty much all of it at this point. There is a pretty little prayer card, and it has a charm that's been laminated underneath, on top of the card, Saint Gabriel the Archangel, and then of course it has the sort of prayer or the words that go with that. If anybody knows more about these cards, feel free to leave a comment about how you use these and how they inspire you, or maybe what they're called. I absolutely love this lace. I love the color of that. And I did do some slow stitching. I know we've talked about that. You may be able to tell that I reverted back to the sewing machine for some of this, but there is a lot of slow stitching. These beads were all put on. I sat on the couch and worked on that several nights. All of this is slow stitching across here and even under here. There are stitches there. So I love the way you can see parts of things. You can see the little stitches under here, pretty much hidden on this side, but they're under there. So I love the gold fabric, and there's a little bee. If you can't see that, that's what that is. And then we have another pocket. I probably need to find something for that. A pretty safety pin. And then in this pocket, here is an Easter greetings. I am the resurrection and the life. It's just a really pretty old card. It says best wishes from Ruth. Beautiful old name. And then we turn the page again. And I had a book about the rosary, about the mystery of the rosary. And this is a page that I tore out. It says for little children. So I just put that old page in there. I love old paper and just reading about different ways to stay encouraged. And then this is just another beautiful image. It says Giovanni Bellini, Madonna with two saints, Academy, Venice. And you can see how beautiful that is. I put a little bit of glitter on that. I worry about using glitter. I know it's not so popular right now with people who are very focused on the environment, which has made me more aware of it. So I don't know, I have mixed feelings. I feel guilty when I use it. But anyway, I do think it's beautiful. And there's just a little cog there. That slides, let's see, let's slide it this way. That slides back under there. And this is just a heart that it was cut out in paper, and I glued fabric on each side and safety pinned that to one of the beautiful little quilt pieces. And then we're at the back. I still need to put my birdsong stamp. I do want to add some more to this. You saw there were a couple of pockets, like this little corner pocket, and this pocket, and this pocket that I still need to put things into. I'm so happy to be back. I will be here more. I thought about you all while I was at the beach, and every day I would think, oh, it's another day that I haven't checked in with my birdsong family. But it was a much, much needed vacation. I will be back really soon, I promise. I hope you all are doing well, and bye for now.